Hi FPL community, it's Adam Hopcroft. As promised, I wanted to upload another video before the game week 10 deadline. So the format of this video, it's going to be short and sharp. I'm going to tackle one question and I'll then give you a review of my plans for game week 10. So the question that I'm going to try and tackle is one by a top FPL manager, Alex Ball. So thanks for the question, Alex. And he's asked me, what are my thoughts on taking hits? Which is a great question. Um, and I think probably the key thing with this is it ultimately depends on your team and the circumstance. The first thing I would always do before taking a hit is I will have a look at, by deducting those 4 points, how it impacts me in my mini leagues and also my overall rank. So before recording this, I had a quick look. If I take a 4 point hit this week, by deducting 4 points from my score, I go down about 90,000 places. So it's a huge impact, and it means you're starting the game week on a back foot. That said, I actually had my best ever season when I took the most hits. So I don't, it can work out. And I think in certain circumstances, it can really pay you back. So let's explore, some of the circumstances. So if we start with the players or players that you're looking to take out, where it works well is where you've got a very small amount of risk. So if a player is injured, suspended, badly out of form in a team that is struggling, not scoring many goals, then those are the situations where actually you've probably not got much risk in losing the player. Is there a there's probably unlikely to be a strong chance of that player or players scoring double digits or scoring highly in that particular week. So I think you need to really explore why you're looking to get rid of those players, and also why do you need to make the 2, 3, 4 changes depending on how many hits you're taking in that particular game week? Could those changes wait a game week? And what would be the potential impact? So they're the things that that I would potentially explore. It could be that price rises are forcing you to move now. It could be that it's part of a bigger plan, which is absolutely fine. And I think everyone's plan, strategy, team are unique. I think when you're exploring the players that are coming in, where I get excited about taking hits and are more likely to do it is when the players have a high ceiling. So they're players that, so if we look at maybe this weekend, if you're bringing in De Bruyne, Sterling, would be examples of players that could score very high in the game week and easily return those 4 points. A really good way to check on players, on what ceiling of a player is. So I look at the current and previous season. How many times have they got 2+ returns? And that gives you a bit of an indicator on, the likelihood that they're going to do that. So I think that is something that I would look at. You can also look at points per match, and I think this is pretty key, because if a player is averaging 4 points per match or less, there's a good chance this hit isn't going to work, because at best or on average they're just going to repay those points. So I think there's some real key things to look at. Another very positive thing that I would look at for taking a hit and maybe to do it is if they have captaincy potential, and particularly in that game week. And if you feel it's going to strengthen your captaincy option, that would be again a reason why I would advocate taking hits. But like I said, it is very, every team is different, every team is unique, and I think you've got to, there isn't a simple yes and no answer to this. The final thing that I would always do is I'd actually do the maths of, is it going to pay off in this game week? Now, of course, hits do not have to pay off in the first game week. They might end up taking 2, 3, 4 weeks to pay you back, which is absolutely fine. But what I would always do is I will look at the players that I'm taking out, or the players that would have played, and add 4 points to their score. and do exactly the same, and then obviously look at the players that I'm bringing in, and I look at the best case and worst case scenario. So what do I perceive as the top score that they can score and the lowest score? And you get a bit of a flavour as to, from doing that exercise, whether it's worth doing. So I'd strongly advocate doing that. I think if there's a big upside to doing it, then naturally it's more likely to actually take the hits. So that's my views on taking hits. What I will do is when I post this video, and I'll post it on Twitter as well. If you are planning to take a hit this week, just comment or message me on Twitter, and I'll have a look and I'll give you my thoughts on whether I think you should do it or not. Um, so that's my thoughts on taking hits. Happy to answer any further questions on that, particularly if there's any points that you want me to explain further. My plans for this week. So at the start of the week, I said I was going to captain a City player. That hasn't changed. It was really between De Bruyne and Sterling for me because I don't have Aguero. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter get probably strangely more excited by De Bruyne because he didn't play the full 90 the other evening against Atlanta. I actually got more excited because Sterling was involved in 5 goals. And I think for me, I'm not interested in pet roulette. Who knows? Who knows what he's going to do? You got a player who had an absolute storm. He's very, very high in confidence. And I thought De Bruyne played very well as well. But I think Sterling is going to be my captain this weekend because I think the Mendy effect. He's cutting in more. He had a lot of chances the other night and was just absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to captain Sterling. If he doesn't start and Man City are in a comfortable lead, he doesn't come on. I get De Bruyne's points anyway. We've seen that happen once before. Hopefully both of them will blank and Villa will actually pull off a shock win, which that would be great to see. In terms of my other plans, I'm saving a transfer. I'm giving Pookie one more game week. I think part of the reason for that is he's got a home game against Man United, and he's scored in games at home versus Chelsea and Man City already this season. I believe he's got double-digit returns in those games, so I plan to give him that match. I'm not massively excited about the alternatives this week of who I could bring in, and it would potentially have to involve a hit. So for that reason, I'm sticking by him. My only other tough decision is which defenders do I start alongside Trent Alexander-Arnold and Nicholas Otamendi. So my options are Dunk, Lundstram and Rico. I think I'm going to go with Dunk. I think with Mina potentially out, Everton lose a bit of set piece threat. And actually Dunk I think is a bit of a threat set piece wise as well. So I think the ceiling's possibly the highest with him. And I was really impressed with how Brighton played against Villa last weekend. And then I think Sheffield United have been very resilient. They've kept 2 clean sheets back to back away from home, but I back West Ham to bounce back after a disappointing match at Everton. I think they'll score. So that's my plans for the week. Please, if you like these videos, please subscribe. Please like, share, etc. And I'll try and post 1 or 2 more next week. Finally, I hope you all have a great game week. And yeah, all the best, and I'll hopefully post some more next week. Cheers, guys.